The teacup shattered against marble, porcelain shards scattering like fallen stars across Chairman Kang's penthouse floor. Chidinma Okonkwo froze, her 18-month-old son Ezen clutching her neck as the elderly man stared at them with eyes that had seen ghosts. "Those eyes," Chairman Kang whispered, his wrinkled hand trembling as he pointed at the baby. "Impossible. It can't be." She tightened her grip on Ezen, her nursing instincts screaming danger despite the luxury surrounding her. She'd flown halfway across the world for this job, desperate for the $75,000 that would save her sister's life. Now her new employer looked like he'd seen death itself. "Sir, please sit down. Your heart rate." The office door slammed open. She spun around and time stopped. The man who entered was beautiful in a way that seemed almost cruel. Long black hair pulled into a low ponytail, sharp jawline, eyes that were impossibly different colors, one brown, one gray. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her annual salary, and his face held the kind of cold authority that came from never hearing the word no. Kang Jae-won, CEO of Starweave Industries. She'd seen his photo during her interview, but pictures hadn't captured the intensity of his presence. Ezen's head popped up from Chi's shoulder. His tiny hand reached out, fingers grasping air. "Dada." The word hung in the air like an accusation. Jaewon's heterochromia eyes, identical to Ezen's, locked onto the baby. His expression shifted from confusion to shock to something darker. "Who are you?" His voice was ice. "And why is that child calling me father?" Chi's throat went dry. "I'm Chidinma Okonkwo, the nurse your grandfather hired. I don't know why he—" "You brought a child to a professional assignment?" Jaewon's gaze cut to Chairman Kang. "Grandfather, what is this?" The old man had gone pale, his breathing shallow. Chi's medical training overrode her fear. She thrust Ezen toward Jaewon without thinking. "Hold him." "I will not." "Your grandfather is having a cardiac episode." "Hold him." Jaewon's arms moved automatically, catching Ezen awkwardly as Chi rushed to Chairman Kang. She guided him to his chair, checking his pulse, her fingers flying to the medical bag she dropped when the teacup shattered. "Nitroglycerin under your tongue, sir." "Don't fight me." Behind her, Ezen had gone quiet. She administered the medication, monitoring the chairman's breathing, acutely aware that her son was in the arms of a stranger who looked at him like he was a bomb about to detonate. "Breathe, Chairman Kang." Slow breaths. "That's it." The old man's color began returning. His eyes, still fixed on Ezen, filled with tears. "The Kang marker," he whispered. "My daughter had those eyes. My wife had those eyes. How is this possible?" Chi's blood turned to ice. She'd noticed Ezen's unusual eyes the day he was born, one brown like hers, one gray unlike anyone in her family. The doctors said it was heterochromia, rare but harmless. They'd never mentioned genetics or family markers. "I don't understand," she said carefully, still monitoring the chairman's pulse. Jaewon's voice came from behind her, deadly quiet. "Neither do I. But we're about to find out." "Mrs. Park." An older woman in a crisp suit appeared so quickly she must have been listening at the door. "Sir, clear my schedule. And call Lee Hanbin." Jaewon looked down at Ezen, who was playing with his tie, oblivious to the tension. "Tell him I need a DNA test. Immediately." "No." She stood, crossing to take her son back. Jaewon didn't release him. "You can't just demand. I can demand whatever I want. This is my family's home, and that child has my family's genetic marker. A marker so rare it appears in less than 0.01% of the population." His eyes met hers, and she saw not anger, but something worse, fear. "So I'll ask you again. Who are you, and where did you get that baby?" The accusation hit her like a slap. "Get? He's my son. I gave birth to him 19 months ago in Lagos General Hospital. I have the documents, the birth certificate, everything." "And the father?" Jaewon's voice could have frozen fire. Chi's silence was answer enough. "Miss Okonkwo." Chairman Kang's voice was stronger now, but still shaky. "Please. Sit. We need to talk about Geneva." The word struck her like lightning. Geneva. The medical conference 2 years ago. The night that had changed everything. The night she'd tried so hard to forget. "How do you know about Geneva?" Her voice was barely a whisper. The chairman gestured to his desk. A manila folder sat there, thick with papers. Because 3 months ago, when I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I hired investigators to find my grandson's activities from the past 5 years. I wanted to know his life before I died. They found gaps. Missing time. Erased security footage from a hotel in Geneva 2 years and 3 months ago. The same hotel where you worked a nursing shift during a medical conference. She felt the room spinning. That was a coincidence. I was just. Room 1707, Chairman Clung continued. You filed a medical report. A guest found unconscious. You stayed with him until he stabilized. That guest was my grandson. Jaewon's arms tightened around Esin. That's impossible. I would remember. Would you? The chairman's eyes were sad. Do you remember Geneva at all? Silence. I remember the conference, Jaewon said finally. The business summit. I remember the opening dinner. And then, nothing. I woke up in my hotel room the next afternoon with a splitting headache and blood on my shirt. My security team said I must have had too much to drink. You were drugged, she heard herself say. All 3 of them looked at her. She swallowed hard. I found you in the hallway. You were bleeding from a head wound. Disoriented. Speaking Korean. I got you to your room because I couldn't leave you there. I'm a nurse. It's what I do. And then, Jaewon's voice was dangerous. And then you collapsed. I stayed to monitor your vitals. You woke up a few times, confused. You kept asking me to help you remember something. I thought you were delirious from the drugs. Her hands were shaking. She clasped them together. When I woke up the next morning, I was in your bed. My clothes were disheveled. I had hours missing from my memory. And you were gone. The words fell into silence like stones into a well. You're saying someone assaulted you. Jaewon's face had gone carefully blank. I'm saying I don't know what happened. I went to the hospital. They found Rohypnol in my system. The hotel claimed their security footage was corrupted. I tried to find you to report it, but the hotel said there was no record of anyone in room 1707 that night. It was like you never existed. Tears burned her eyes. And then 8 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. Chairman Clung made a sound like grief. My God. I didn't know who the father was. I didn't even know if. She couldn't finish the sentence. I just knew I was keeping the baby. Esin means good mother in Igbo. I named him that because I promised myself I would be good enough for both of us. Jaewon was staring at Esin with an expression she couldn't read. The baby, sensing the tension, had started to fuss. Mama, Esin whimpered, reaching for Chi. This time Jaewon let him go. She gathered her son close, breathing in his familiar baby scent, trying to ground herself in reality. The DNA test, Jaewon said. His voice sounded hollow. We do it today. If he's mine. If he's yours, nothing changes, she said fiercely. He's my son. I raised him alone. I fed him, changed him, walked the floors with him when he was sick. You don't get to show up now and. If he's mine, everything changes. Jaewon's eyes met hers, and she saw something in them that looked like devastation. Because it means someone drugged us both. Someone staged a crime scene. Someone took away our choice, our consent, our memory of that night. And I need to know who. I need to know why. Min-suk, Chairman Clung said quietly. Jaewon's jaw clenched. My stepbrother. He's tried to destroy you before, the chairman continued. The scandals. The false paternity claims. Always trying to prove you're unfit to run Starweave. But this is different. Jaewon looked at Esin again. This is real. She wanted to run. Wanted to grab her son and fly back to Lagos, away from these impossibly wealthy men and their family politics. But she thought of Adana in the hospital, growing weaker every day. Thought of the money she desperately needed. The DNA test, she said finally. Fine. We do it. But I need guarantees. Whatever the results, I keep custody. And I still get paid for the nursing position. You'll get paid, Chairman Clung assured her. And Miss Okonkwo, if that child is my great-grandson, you'll never have to worry about money again. I don't want your money, she said, even though it was a lie. I want my sister to live. That's why I'm here. The job posting said 75,000 for 3 months. That's what I need. Nothing more. Jaewon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then at his grandfather. Lee Hanbin is sending a DNA specialist to the penthouse within the hour. They'll take samples from all three of us. All three? She asked. You, me, and Ezen. We need to establish maternity as well as paternity. No offense, Miss Okonkwo, but given the circumstances, we verify everything. She wanted to be offended, but she understood. In a twisted way, she was relieved. At least this would prove Ezen was hers, even if everything else was chaos. Mrs. Park appeared again, hovering nervously. Sir, there are reporters outside. Someone tipped them off about a woman and child visiting the penthouse. Jaewon cursed in Korean. Minsuk works fast. What do we do? She asked, panic rising. Chairman Kang stood, steadier now. We control the narrative. Mrs. Park, prepare the guest suite. Miss Okonkwo and Ezen stay here until we have answers. No one sees them, no one photographs them. Understood. Yes, sir. And Jaewon. The old man's voice was gentle. Before we do the DNA test, there's something else you should see. He pulled out a worn photograph from his desk drawer. A young Korean man stood with a beautiful black woman, both smiling at the camera. Behind them, Table Mountain rose against a blue sky. Cape Town, 1962, Chairman Kang said softly. That's me. And that's Thandai. My wife. My real wife. Jaewon took the photograph with trembling fingers. She moved closer, Ezen balanced on her hip, and stared at the woman in the image. She had the same heterochromia eyes as the chairman, as Jaewon as Ezen. You never told me you were married before, Jaewon said quietly. Because my family forced me to abandon her. I was 23, sent to South Africa to establish business connections. I met Thandai at a hospital where she worked as a midwife. We fell in love in 3 weeks. Married in secret. Chairman Kang's voice cracked. When my father found out, he gave me a choice. Come home and marry the woman he'd chosen, or lose everything. The company, the family name, my future. You chose the company, she whispered. I chose wrong. The old man's tears fell freely now. Thandai was pregnant. I didn't know until months after I returned to Seoul. By the time I tried to go back, she died in childbirth. My daughter grew up in an orphanage. I spent 40 years searching for her, but she'd been adopted. Her name changed. I never found her. He pulled out another photo. A baby with heterochromia eyes, wrapped in a blanket. This was the only picture the orphanage had. My daughter. Your grandmother, Jaewon. The grandmother you never knew existed. Jaewon sat down heavily. My mother told me her mother died when she was young. She never mentioned. Your mother didn't know. My daughter was raised believing her parents were dead. When I finally traced her adoption records, she'd already passed away from early-onset Alzheimer's. She was only 42. Chairman Kang's voice broke completely. I lost everyone. Thandai, my daughter, and eventually your mother to the same disease. The heterochromia skips generations, but the Alzheimer's, that runs true. The room fell into heavy silence. She watched Jaewon's face cycle through emotions, shock, grief, understanding, and finally something that looked like terror. How long have you known? Jaewon asked. About the Alzheimer's being genetic? Since your mother's diagnosis 15 years ago. The doctors tested you then. You carry the markers. And you never told me. You were 17. I thought I was protecting you. Chairman Kang looked ancient suddenly. But you found out anyway, didn't you? That's why you never dated seriously. Why you never wanted children. You didn't want them to watch you forget them the way you watched your mother forget you. Chi's chest tightened. She looked at Jaewon with new eyes, seeing past the cold exterior to the scared man underneath. I'm 32, Jaewon said flatly. My mother started showing symptoms at 38. The doctors said I might have even less time because the genetics are stronger in me. Every day I forget small things. Names. Dates. Sometimes I stand in a room and can't remember why I'm there. He laughed bitterly. And now you're telling me I might have a son. A son who'll watch me disappear just like I watched my mother disappear. No, she said firmly. Both men looked at her. If Ezen is your son, he won't watch you disappear. He'll love you for every moment he has you. That's what children do. They don't love you because you're perfect or because you'll remember them forever. They love you because you're their parent. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. My sister Adana has Fanconi anemia. Rare blood disorder. She's had it since she was 6. I've spent 22 years watching her fight for every breath, every heartbeat. And you know what? I'd rather have 22 imperfect years with her than 0 perfect ones. Your son, if he is your son, deserves the same choice. Ezen chose that moment to reach for J1 again, babbling something that sounded like dada mixed with other baby nonsense. J1 stared at the child like he was a puzzle with missing pieces. He keeps doing that. Calling me that word. Children sense things, Chairman Kong said softly. Maybe on some level he knows. The doorbell chimed. Mrs. Park's voice came through the intercom. The DNA specialist has arrived, sir. The next 30 minutes passed in a clinical blur. The specialist, a severe woman named Dr. Yoon, swabbed the inside of Chi's cheek, then Ezen's, then Jaewon's. She worked with efficient silence, labeling samples, sealing them in sterile containers. Results in 48 hours, Dr. Yoon said. I'll call Mr. Lee directly. After she left, the silence in the penthouse felt suffocating. Ezen had fallen asleep against Chi's shoulder, exhausted from the stress he couldn't understand but could certainly feel. Mrs. Park will show you to your rooms, Chairman Kong said gently. Please rest. We'll talk more tomorrow. She followed Mrs. Park down a hallway that seemed to stretch forever, past artwork that probably cost more than her childhood home. The guest suite was larger than her entire apartment in Lagos, decorated in soft creams and golds. If you need anything, press 9 on the phone, Mrs. Park said. Her expression softened as she looked at sleeping Ezen. He's beautiful. Those eyes, they really are remarkable. After she left, she laid Ezen in the center of the massive bed, building a fortress of pillows around him. Then she collapsed into a chair and let herself cry. 2 years. She'd spent 2 years trying to forget Geneva, trying to build a life for herself and Ezen, trying to be strong. And now everything was unraveling. The man she'd thought might have assaulted her could be the man she'd actually talked to that night. The fragments of memory she dismissed as drug-induced hallucinations might be real. She remembered laughing. Remembered someone with a kind voice asking about her family. Remembered feeling safe, which made no sense given what came after. Her phone buzzed. A video call from Lagos. Adana. She wiped her eyes and answered. Her sister's face appeared, thinner than last week, dark circles under her eyes. Chi. How's Seoul? Is the job good? You look upset. What's wrong? Nothing, just tired from the flight. Chi forced a smile. How are you feeling? Don't change the subject. I know your upset face. Adana coughed, a wet sound that made Chi's nursing instinct scream. What happened? She wanted to lie, but she'd never been able to lie to Adana. The job is complicated. The patient's grandson thinks Ezen might be his son. Silence. Then Adana's eyes went wide. Wait. What? How? Did you know him? I don't know. Maybe? There was a night in Geneva 2 years ago. I was drugged, he was drugged, and I can't remember what happened. We're doing a DNA test. Oh my God, if he's the father, if he's rich, maybe he can help. Maybe he can pay for my treatment. No. Chi's voice was sharp. I'm not using our son to extort money from anyone. I took this job to earn the money properly. Whatever happens with the DNA test, we handle it with dignity. Chi, I'm dying. Dignity doesn't cure Fanconi anemia. You're not dying. Don't say that. Don't ever say that. Chi was crying again. The experimental treatment in Germany is working for other patients. We just need the money for the first round. After that, insurance might cover. Chi, Adana's voice was gentle. I'm tired. I'm so tired of fighting. If this man is Ezen's father, if he can help our family, please don't let pride stop you. Not for me. I have to go, Chi whispered. I'll call you tomorrow. I love you. Love you too, sister. Kiss my nephew for me. The call ended. She sat in the dark, watching Ezen sleep, wondering how her life had become so impossibly complicated. A soft knock on the door startled her. She opened it to find Jaewon standing in the hallway, still in his suit but with his hair down now, falling past his shoulders. Can we talk? He asked. She glanced back at Ezen, then stepped into the hallway, pulling the door mostly closed. About what? Geneva. I need to know everything you remember. Every detail. I already told you. No, you told me the clinical facts. But there's more, isn't there? Fragments. Pieces that don't fit. He ran a hand through his hair. I've been having dreams for 2 years. Always the same woman. Brown skin, long braids, a scar on her left shoulder shaped like a crescent moon. I thought I was going insane, that my mind was creating someone who didn't exist. But that scar, you have it. I saw it when you reached up to fix Ezen's collar earlier. Chi's hand automatically went to her shoulder, to the old burn scar from a childhood accident. Lots of people have scars. Not that exact shape. Not in my dreams every single night for 2 years. Jaewon's voice dropped. I've been drawing her. You. I have sketchbooks full of your face, and I didn't even know who you were. That's impossible. Is it? You said you had missing hours. So did I. But maybe we weren't unconscious the whole time. Maybe we talked. Maybe we. He trailed off. Maybe we what? Fell in love in one drugged-up night. She laughed bitterly. That's not how life works. My grandparents fell in love in 3 weeks. My mother used to tell me that story before she forgot it. Before she forgot everything. Jaewon leaned against the wall, looking suddenly exhausted. She told me once that real love isn't about time. It's about recognition. Seeing someone and knowing, on some level deeper than logic, that they matter. Stop. Chi's voice shook. Don't romanticize this. We were drugged. Violated. Whatever happened that night, it wasn't beautiful. It was a crime. I know. His eyes met hers. But Ezen isn't a crime. Whatever darkness brought him into this world, he's light. Pure light. And if he's mine, I need to protect him. From Min-suk. From the media. From everything. He's not yours to protect. Not until we know for sure. 48 hours, Jaewon said. And then what? If the DNA says he's mine, what happens? She had been avoiding that question. I don't know. I do. Jaewon's voice was quiet, but certain. My grandfather is dying. Terminal pancreatic cancer. 6 months, maybe less. And he's changed his will. I found out tonight. Everything goes to whoever provides him with a legitimate great-grandchild and proves they can build a stable family. That's insane. That's desperate. He lost Thandai. He lost his daughter. He lost my mother. He sees Ezen as his last chance at redemption, at having family that survives him. Jaewon looked at her directly. If the DNA test is positive, he's going to pressure us to get married. Chi's laugh was sharp. Married? We don't even know each other. Exactly. Which is why I'm telling you now, before the results come back. If you want to run, if you want to take Ezen and disappear, I'll give you money. Enough for your sister's treatment, enough to start over somewhere safe. No strings attached. Why would you do that? Because you deserve a choice. We didn't have one in Geneva. But we have one now. She stared at him, searching for the trap, the angle, the manipulation. But Jaewon's face showed only exhaustion and something that looked like genuine regret. How much do you know about my sister? She asked carefully. Everything. My grandfather's investigators are thorough. Adana Okonkwo, age 26, diagnosed with Fanconi anemia at 6 years old. Multiple failed treatments. Current prognosis without intervention is 18 months, maybe 2 years. There's an experimental treatment in Munich that's showing promise, but it costs $200,000 for the initial protocol. Chi's hands clenched into fists. You had no right to dig into our lives. I had every right once you walked into my family's home with a child who might be my son. Jaewon's voice was firm but not unkind. But I'm not telling you this to hurt you. I'm telling you so you understand what's at stake. My grandfather will use your sister as leverage. He'll offer to pay for everything if you marry me, stay married for a year, give him the family legacy he's desperate for before he dies. And you're warning me about this, why? What do you get out of it? Peace of mind. I don't want a wife who's trapped. I don't want Ezen growing up watching his parents hate each other. Jaewon pulled something from his pocket, a business card. This is my private account. If you decide to run, call that number. I'll transfer $500,000. Enough for Adana's treatment and enough for you to build a life somewhere Min-suk can't find you. She took the card with shaking hands. This is insane. Why would you just give me $500,000? Because if Ezen is my son, he deserves a mother who chose to stay, not one who was bought. And if he's not my son, Jaewon's voice cracked slightly, then maybe helping you is the one good thing I can do before my mind starts eating itself. Before Chi could respond, An alarm blared through the penthouse. Red emergency lights flooded the hallway. What's happening? She yanked her door open, racing to Ezen, who'd woken up screaming. Jaewon was already on his phone, barking orders in Korean. Mrs. Park appeared, her usual composure shattered. Sir, it's the chairman. He's collapsed. The paramedics are on their way. She didn't think. She grabbed her medical bag and ran toward the chairman's quarters, Ezen crying in her arms. She found the old man on the floor, chest heaving, lips turning blue. Cardiac arrest, she said, dropping to her knees. She thrust Ezen toward Mrs. Park. Take him. Now. Her hands moved automatically. Chest compressions. Checking airways. She'd done this 100 times in Lagos General, but never in a billionaire's bedroom with guards hovering and the patient's grandson watching with terrified eyes. Where are the paramedics? She demanded. 2 minutes out, Jaewon said. He'd gone pale but steady. What do you need? AED if you have one. Oxygen. And everyone who's not helping needs to get out. The guards scattered. Jaewon returned with a defibrillator. She ripped open the chairman's shirt, placed the pads, waited for the machine's analysis. Shock advised, the mechanical voice said. Clear. She delivered the shock. The chairman's body convulsed. She checked for pulse. Nothing. Started compressions again. Come on, she muttered. Don't you dare die before you meet your great-grandson officially. Don't you dare. Another shock. This time, the chairman gasped. His eyes fluttered open. Ezen, he whispered. He's safe. Mrs. Park has him. Stay still. Paramedics are almost here. The emergency team arrived in a controlled storm of equipment and efficiency. They loaded Chairman Kong onto a stretcher, and she rattled off his vitals, medication history, everything she'd learned from his medical files. You're good, one of the paramedics said to her in English. Nurse? Yes. I'm his private care provider. You saved his life. Another minute, and we'd be having a different conversation. They rushed him out. Jaewon moved to follow, then stopped, looking back at Chi. She was still on the floor, hands covered in the chairman's blood from where he'd hit his head falling, adrenaline making her shake. Come with me, Jaewon said. To the hospital. I need to stay with Ezen. Mrs. Park will watch him. He knows her now. But my grandfather asked for you. And I. He swallowed hard. I don't want to do this alone. Something in his voice, raw and young, made Chi nod. She cleaned up quickly, changed her shirt, kissed a calmer Ezen who Mrs. Park was distracting with toys, and followed Jaewon to the private garage. The drive to Seoul Medical Center was silent except for Jaewon's hands drumming against the steering wheel, a nervous tell that made him seem more human. He's going to be okay, she said finally. His heart is strong for his age. The collapse was likely stress-induced. Stress from finding out his grandson might have a secret child. Stress I caused. Stress from a lifetime of regret and loss. Don't put this on yourself. Jaewon's laugh was bitter. Everything in my family comes back to choices we didn't make and people we didn't protect. My grandfather abandoned Thandai. My mother abandoned her mind to disease. And he gripped the steering wheel tighter. I don't even remember the night I might have created a son. What kind of father starts there? The kind who gets a second chance, she said quietly. If you want it. They reached the hospital. The VIP wing was eerily quiet, all hushed luxury and private rooms. Chairman Kang was in surgery, emergency stent placement. For hours minimum. She and Jaewon sat in the waiting room. Alone. The silence stretched. Tell me about Geneva, Jaewon said finally. Not the clinical parts. The human parts. She closed her eyes, reaching for memories she'd buried. I was working the conference because the pay was triple my usual rate. I just found out about Adana's latest relapse. I was desperate. Tired. I took a break around midnight, went to the hotel bar just to sit somewhere that wasn't a hospital or a conference room. I was at that bar, Jaewon said. I remember now. I was alone. My security team was at a different table. I just finished a deal that made me $60 million, and all I could think about was how empty it felt. There was a man sitting alone, she continued, the memory sharpening. He had long hair tied back. He was sketching something on a napkin. I remember thinking he looked sad despite being in a 5-star hotel. You sat 3 seats away from me. You ordered hot chocolate instead of alcohol. The bartender made fun of you, but you just laughed and said you were sweet enough already without adding liquor. Chi's eyes snapped open. You remember that? I'm remembering it now. It's like pulling up a file that was corrupted. Jaewon's voice was wonderstruck. You had your hair in braids. Small ones, hundreds of them. They clicked when you moved. You dropped your napkin. I picked it up. You'd been sketching a woman's face, but it was all wrong. The proportions were off, the eyes too far apart. I told you that if you were going to draw people, you should study anatomy first. You were so matter-of-fact about it. No trying to flatter me or impress me. Just honest. Jaewon turned to look at her. I bought you a hot chocolate. You told me about Adana. About how she wanted to be a dancer, but her body wouldn't let her. About how you became a nurse because if you couldn't save her, at least you could save someone. Tears streaked Chi's face. You told me about your mother. About how she used to braid your hair when you were little, singing Korean lullabies. About how one day she forgot the words, then forgot the songs, then forgot you entirely. You were 14 when she stopped recognizing you. We talked for hours, Jaewon whispered. I remember thinking I'd never met anyone who understood. Everyone in my world wants something, money, connections, status. But you just wanted your sister to dance again. It was so pure it hurt. We were going to have breakfast the next morning. You wrote your room number on another napkin. 1707. You said to meet you at 9. What happened? When did the drugs? I don't know. 1 minute we were talking, laughing. The next minute everything went fuzzy. You stood up, said you felt strange. You took 2 steps and collapsed. I caught you before you hit the ground. Chi's voice shook. I should have called an ambulance immediately. But you were mumbling about not trusting anyone, about your brother trying to destroy you. You begged me not to call anyone. So I got you to your room instead. And someone was waiting, Jaewon said grimly. Someone who drugged us both. Minsuk's people. I remember hands grabbing me. A cloth over my face. Chemical smell. Then nothing until I woke up in your bed, alone, violated, and terrified. Chi wiped her eyes. I went to the police. They said without footage, without witnesses, it was he said she said. Except there was no he because you were gone. The hotel had no record of your stay. It was like you'd been erased. Minsuk is thorough. He's been trying to destroy my reputation for years. Fake scandals, false accusations, planted stories. Jaewon's jaw clenched. But this is different. This time he didn't just try to ruin me. He hurt you. And if Ezen is mine, he's responsible for a child being conceived through. Don't. Chi's voice was sharp. Don't say it was assault. We don't know what happened in those missing hours. Maybe it was consensual before the drugs fully kicked in. Maybe we wanted each other and just can't remember. Does it matter? We couldn't have truly consented under those conditions. It matters to me, Chi said fiercely. It matters because Ezen deserves to be more than the product of a crime. He deserves to be the child of 2 people who connected, who saw each other, even if they can't remember it clearly. A surgeon emerged, pulling off her mask. Family of Kong Sung-jae? They both stood. How is he? Jaewon demanded. Stable. The stent placement was successful. He'll need to stay for observation, but he should make a full recovery from this episode. The surgeon paused. However, I need to be frank. His cancer is progressing faster than previous scans indicated. He has 3 months at most. These cardiac events will likely increase as his body weakens. Jaewon's face went blank. The mask she was learning meant he was breaking inside. Can we see him? She asked. He's asking for both of you specifically. But keep it brief. He needs rest. Chairman Kong looked smaller in the hospital bed, frielier, but his eyes were sharp when they entered. Chidinma saved my life, he said to Jaewon. Your mother was a nurse too, before the Alzheimer's took her memories. She would have liked Chi. Jaewon's expression softened. She would have. Mother always said the best people were the ones who fought for others instead of themselves. Sit, Chairman Kong commanded weakly. Both of you. We don't have time for pretense anymore. Chi and Jaewon pulled up chairs. The old man's hand trembled as he reached for the water cup. Chi helped him drink, her nurse training automatic. The doctors told you 3 months. They're being optimistic. I feel it in my bones. I have weeks, maybe days if I'm unlucky. He waved off their protests. Listen to me. I've made terrible choices in my life. I abandoned the woman I loved. I let my daughter grow up alone. I pushed your mother too hard, J1, trying to mold her into something she wasn't. And when she got sick, I threw money at the problem instead of just being present. Grandfather. I'm not finished. I brought Chi here for a reason beyond nursing care. When I saw Ezen's eyes in the photographs my investigator showed me, I knew. That child is my blood. My redemption. My last chance to do something right. He looked at Chi. The DNA results won't tell us anything I don't already know in my heart. But I need you both to hear this before they arrive. He pressed a button and a screen descended from the ceiling. A video began playing, security footage, grainy but clear enough. Geneva. The hotel bar. She watched herself sit down, watched J1 glance at her, watched them begin talking. The timestamp showed them laughing, leaning closer, completely absorbed in conversation. Where did you get this? J1 demanded. I paid very well for very illegal recovery services. Watch. The footage jumped forward. Showed J1 standing, stumbling. She catching him. But there, in the background, two men watching. One made a phone call. 5 minutes later, a third man approached the bar, slipped something into Chi's abandoned hot chocolate. They drugged you separately, Chairman Kong said. J1 first, with something fast-acting. You second, Chi, with something slower. They wanted you conscious long enough to get J1 to his room, then they planned to stage photographs. Blackmail material. The footage showed Chi helping J1 into the elevator. The two men following. Then the screen went dark. The hallway footage was corrupted beyond recovery. But I found this. Another clip. A different angle. A service corridor. The same two men leaving room 1707 carrying an unconscious Chi. They dumped her back in J1's bed, arranged the scene, then left. They assaulted us and made it look like we'd assaulted each other, Chi whispered, horror washing over her. No. Chairman Kang's voice was firm. They staged a scene. But look at this. He fast-forwarded. The timestamp showed 4:47 a.m. The door to room 1707 opened from the inside. J1 stumbled out, clearly still drugged but mobile. He staggered to the ice machine, filled a bucket, returned to the room. Another clip. 5:23 a.m. The door opened again. This time Chi emerged, also stumbling. She made it 3 steps before collapsing. J1 came out, saw her, carried her back inside. You both woke up during the night, Chairman Kong explained. Multiple times. Fighting the drugs. Taking care of each other. The medical examiner I hired analyzed the evidence. There's no indication of assault. But there is evidence of. He paused delicately. Consensual intimacy. Hours after the initial drugging, when you were both semi-conscious but mobile. Chi's face burned. That's impossible. I don't remember any of it. Rohypnol causes anterograde amnesia. You can't form new memories while under its influence. But your body still functions. Your emotions still function. The chairman's eyes were kind. I believe you fell in love that night. Both of you. And in your drugged state, you acted on it. What resulted was Ezen. A child conceived by 2 people who couldn't consent, J1 said bitterly. That's still wrong. Is it? If 2 people fall in love, decide to be together, and then alcohol impairs their judgment, does that make their child illegitimate? Does that make their love invalid? Chairman Kang shook his head. You were robbed of the memory of choosing each other. But the evidence shows you did choose each other in the ways you could. Chi's hands were shaking. Who did this? Who were those men? Employees of Kim Security Services. A private firm Min-suk uses for his dirty work. I've already forwarded everything to the police and to my lawyers. Min-suk will be arrested within 48 hours. J1 stood abruptly. He'll deny everything. Claim the men acted independently. Let him try. I've also recovered his financial records. Payments made to Kim Security the week of Geneva. Payments made to hack the hotel's system. Payments made to a tabloid journalist who was supposed to break the scandal. Chairman Kong smiled grimly. Your brother was sloppy. Arrogant. He never expected me to look this deep. Why are you showing us this now? She asked. Why not wait for the DNA results? Because I'm dying, child. And I need to know my great-grandson will be protected. That requires you both to understand the truth, not just about Geneva, but about what comes next. He pressed another button. A legal document appeared on the screen. My updated will. I had it drafted yesterday after meeting Ezen. If the DNA test confirms what I already know, here are the terms. J1 inherits Starweave Industries and all associated assets, valued at approximately $8 billion. But only if he marries Chidinma Okonkwo within 30 days and remains married for 1 year. You can't be serious, J1 said. I'm dead serious. Literally. The chairman's laugh turned into a cough. If you refuse, everything goes to charity. Minsuk gets nothing either way. I've already written him out completely. But Chi, if you agree to this marriage, I'm also establishing a medical trust. $50 million dedicated to your sister's care, experimental treatments, anything she needs for the rest of her life. She felt like she'd been punched. That's blackmail. That's desperation. I don't have time for courtship. I need to know my family line continues. That Ezen grows up with both parents. That you two have the chance to fall in love properly this time, with full consent and clear memories. And if we hate each other? J1 asked. If the marriage becomes toxic? Then you divorce after the year and split the assets. I'm requiring marriage and time, not happiness. Though I hope for the latter. Chairman Kang's expression softened. I've seen the way you look at each other. The way you looked at each other in Geneva before everything went wrong. You had something real. Minsuk tried to destroy it, but he failed. Ezen is proof of that. She stood, pacing. This is insane. We barely know each other. What kind of example does a forced marriage set for Ezen? The kind that shows him his parents chose to fight for him even when it was hard, the chairman replied. The kind that shows sacrifice and commitment means something. Or the kind that shows him people can be bought, she shot back. Can you be bought, Chidinma? Is $50 million for your dying sister's care a price, or is it a gift you're too proud to accept? The old man's voice was gentle but cutting. I'm not asking you to love my grandson for money. I'm asking you to give love a chance to grow. You already made one son together. Is it so terrible to try making a life together? Silence filled the room. She thought of Adana, growing weaker every day. Thought of Ezen, who deserved stability. Thought of the connection she'd felt with J1 in Geneva, the connection that still hummed between them now despite the fear and confusion. I need time, she said finally. You have until the DNA results arrive. 48 hours. Chairman Kong closed his eyes, exhausted. Now leave. Both of you. I need to rest, and you need to talk. Really talk. They left the hospital in silence. Dawn was breaking over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. J1 drove to a park overlooking the Han River and parked. We should talk, he said. Your grandfather just tried to sell us to each other. I know. And the worst part is it might actually work. J1 turned to face her. Not because of the money. Because he's right, we did have something in Geneva. I feel it every time I look at you. Like my soul recognizes you even though my mind doesn't remember. That's the trauma talking. Shared trauma bonds people. Is it? Or are you scared that it might be real? J1 reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he touched her hand. I have Alzheimer's markers. In 5 years, maybe less, I'll start forgetting. In 10 years, I might not know my own name. Marrying me means signing up to watch me disappear. And I have a sister who might die within 2 years without treatment. A son who might grow up without his aunt. Marrying you means accepting help I'm not sure I deserve. She turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his. We're both broken people, J1. Maybe that's the point. What do you mean? Your grandfather said we should fall in love properly this time. But what if we don't? What if we just become partners? Co-parents? Friends? Chi's voice strengthened. I don't need romance. I need security for Ezen. I need Adana to live. If a contract marriage provides that, if it also protects you from Minsuk's schemes and gives your grandfather peace before he dies, maybe that's enough. It's not enough for me. J1's voice was quiet but intense. I don't want a business arrangement. I don't want separate bedrooms and polite distance. If we do this, if we get married, I want the chance at something real. Even if it's temporary because my mind won't last. Even if it's complicated because of how Ezen was conceived. I want to try. Chi searched his face. Saw sincerity there, and fear and hope. What if I can't love you? What if the memory of Geneva is too tainted? Then we'll make new memories. Better ones. We'll have a year. Maybe that's enough time to fall in love. Maybe it's not. But at least we'll know we tried. He squeezed her hand. I'm not asking you to decide now. I'm asking you to consider it. Really consider it. I will. Chi's phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Park with a photo attached. Essen asleep in a crib that probably cost more than Chi's yearly salary, clutching a stuffed tiger. Jae-won looked at the photo over her shoulder. His expression went soft in a way that transformed his face. He's beautiful, Jae-won whispered. If he's mine, I want to be the father he deserves. Not perfect, not whole, but present. For as long as my mind lets me be. Then let's wait for the DNA results, she said. And if they confirm what we both already suspect, we'll talk. Really talk. About marriage, about Essen, about all of it. Deal. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun rise over Seoul, two broken people holding hands and hoping that maybe, just maybe, their pieces could fit together. 47 hours until the DNA results. 47 hours until everything changed. She closed her eyes and prayed she was making the right choice for Essen, for Adana, for herself. And maybe, just maybe, for the man beside her who'd loved her once in Geneva and was willing to try loving her again in Seoul. The story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. But for now, in this moment, watching dawn break over a foreign city with her son's possible father beside her, she let herself hope. Hope that broken things could be mended. Hope that forgotten love could be remembered. Hope that even in the darkest circumstances, light could find a way through. And somewhere in a hospital room, Chairman Kang smiled in his sleep, dreaming of Thandai and second chances, knowing that perhaps, finally, his family might find the happiness that had eluded him for so long. If you've made it this far, you're part of something special. Drop a comment below telling us what you think will happen when the DNA results arrive. Will Chi and Jae-won choose love or logic? And don't forget to subscribe because part 2 is coming, and trust us, you won't want to miss what happens when Min-suk makes his move. Hit that like button if this story grabbed your heart, and share it with someone who loves Korean dramas with a twist. We'll see you in the next chapter of this beautiful, complicated love story.